Welcome back to the Golden State with Mates post-game live after the Warriors get blown out, but then kind of didn't get blown out in 131-116 loss to the Houston Rockets at Toyota Center on Wednesday. Weird game. Warriors just decided they didn't want to play. This series, as I've said to you before, it feels like the series in 2022 against the Grizzlies. And in that one, the Warriors went on the road up 3-1 in game 5 and lost 134-95. Now, this was closer, but it felt the same given the first half blowout. The Warriors were down by 16 at the end of the first, down by 30 with 7 minutes still left in the second quarter, down by 27 still at the end of the third quarter. And then all of a sudden, the garbage time lineup decides to muck around a little bit and actually make this game interesting. And I was just there, sitting on the couch. I tuned out. I started writing my post-game article, post-game report, writing about the similarities between this game and the game 5 of the Grizzlies series in 2022, and talking about Steph's disappointing performance and Draymond and Jimmy as well, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, I had to look up and I was like, oh, what the... It's 13 points. What's going on? Oh, Ime Udoka's bringing his starters back in. And then, we got a scuffle where Pat Spencer headbutted Alperen Şengün and got ejected, and Şengün and TJD got technical fouls. So things actually happened in a fourth quarter that otherwise looked like there was going to be absolutely nothing to it whatsoever. So the Warriors lose, but it was at least interesting towards the end. And I suppose that was the one difference between this game and that game 5 against Memphis. But the Warriors now put themselves under a little bit of pressure, no doubt. They're going to have to hope that history repeats. They were able to get back on their home floor and win that game 6 in 2022 against the Grizzlies. And they're going to have to hope to do the same now on Thursday against the Rockets, because Friday against the Rockets, because the last thing that you want to do is, go into a game 7 back on the road in Houston. That would be an absolute nightmare situation. So Warriors now put themselves under pressure. Hopefully they can get it done in game 6, but they clearly just punted this game from the start. If Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond don't rock up to play, then you're not going to win. And those guys just left their heads and their hearts in the bay. You could kind of tell from the first 2 minutes where Jalen Green drove and Draymond just fouled him for no reason. And I was like, well, that's just you've just dealt with foul trouble the game before. That was just a dumb foul. You're just giving away a foul for no reason there, where you could have either let him go and got a bucket or just actually played some defense. That would have been nice. So just from that point, I was like, this is a bit weird. And then they up 8-5 early and Draymond hit a 3. And I was like, okay, maybe they're going to be all right. And then, I don't know, Houston just very, very quickly over the next really quarter, 15 minutes, just blew it out to 30, and that was it. Anyway, I'll get into your comments here. I've also got this Lakers-Minnesota game rolling at the moment, so I've got one eye on that. Minnesota currently up 23-14 with a couple of free throws to come, I think, with 3 minutes left in the first quarter. Obviously, big stakes there with the winner to play the winner of Warriors-Rockets. All right, a few comments from you guys. Priscilla says, no offense makes no sense slogan. They couldn't break out of Rockets 2-3 zone. That's what happened last game when they did that zone. Rockets weren't doing good on offense and Warriors won. So that's, I think, the biggest issue for a lot of fans, and myself included, might come out of this game and think, well, we don't particularly care. The team didn't care. Once we lock back in for game 6, we might be all right. But I think that was probably the biggest concern from a schematic standpoint, is that Houston went zone there kind of early second quarter, and the Warriors had absolutely nothing whatsoever. They went 6 minutes between late first quarter to halfway through the second quarter where they just didn't score. They did not score a single point. They were just chucking up threes at the end of the shot clock. That was basically all the offense they could get. I was laughing. because I was like, well, my favorite saying, if you don't laugh, you'll cry. And it was some of the worst offense you'll ever see. And I was just there what are we doing, man? Come on. What is going on here? So, it was very, very disappointing. That was probably the one thing. The inability to do anything against the zone offensively was, I don't know. That's something Steve's going to have to go to work on here over the next 48 hours before game 6. But the defense was really the worry. Like, you give up 76 first half points, 40 in the first 12 minutes. You're just not going to win, right? You're not going to win from that position. And unfortunately, the Warriors, defensively. And it starts with Draymond again. I thought Draymond was just an absolute no-show in this game. Yeah, he shot 3 or 4 from the field, had 7 points, but defensively, he's the leader. We know that. We saw what he did at the end of game 4 with that stop against Şengün. That was great. Well, now he's put some pressure on himself, I think, to really step up in game 6. Because aside from that stop at the end of game 4, I don't think he's played overly well in this series. And so, again, he's put himself under pressure by being a no-show today to really go out and perform in game 6 and get the win. Priscilla says, I don't believe Rockets are going to average 70% from the field next game, but they need to figure out that Rocket zone and we should be fine. Agree with that. Knox said, not worried about this loss. To be honest, game 5 are the hardest closeout games. Rockets not shooting 70% again. This was all, I think, comments from you guys, probably the end of the third quarter. And then Logan kind of went on about the Warriors putting in big guys and actually being able to rebound. And Braxton Key, I tell you what, the Warriors, that play where Spencer got ejected. So the Warriors were down 13 at that point, and there was still just over 4 minutes left. And then Braxton Key missed like 2 straight layups in a row, which were just like open layups, which would have cut it to 11. And then that kind of scuffle wouldn't have happened. Spencer wouldn't have got ejected. There wouldn't have been 3 free throws for the Rockets because they had the free throw for the ejection, and then they had the 2 free throws for Brooks on the personal foul as well. So, like, you got it down to 11 at that point. Who knows what could have happened? But from that point after the scuffle, the Rockets kind of steadied and the Warriors never really had a chance again. Priscilla says, imagine having to put your starters back in. Udoka thought he could rest his starters after being up 30 plus. That was the one silver lining for Golden State, I suppose, in this game was that, well, Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond didn't play for the last quarter and a half, like the last 18 minutes of the game, essentially. I think Steve waved the white flag, 5:48 mark, was it, I think, of the third quarter, left in the third quarter, and obviously didn't bring his guys back in. Aside from Buddy Hield, played a few minutes there down the stretch when the Warriors kind of got back into it. So there was that, and then the Rockets obviously thought they were able to rest their key guys for the entire fourth quarter, and all of a sudden the Warriors pretty quickly cut the margin from 27 to 13, and Ime was like, yeah, I'm not having a bar of this. And well, it was even before that. I think they might have got it back to 17 or 18, and Udoka was like, yeah, I'm not having any of this. I'm bringing them back. So that's the one silver lining from a Golden State perspective from this game. Logan says, you put in Knox, TJD, and Key, and they rebound over and over. This was amazing. Put in Taron Armstrong, do it, please. Unfortunately, Taron Armstrong on a 2-way contract couldn't be in the game or isn't eligible to be in any playoff action. Logan says 76 bench points. The second half was very encouraging. I'm not even sure if it's encouraging. They played hard and they made the scoreboard look better. Great. That's fine. But at the end of the day, Braxton Key, Kevin Knox, even Moody to a degree. Now, Moody, probably maybe the best thing to come from this because he found his offense a little bit, had 25 points, 9 of 18 shooting, 3 of 7 from downtown. It was a team high, 25 points. No one else had more than 14. Kevin Knox was the second leading scorer with 14. At the end of the day, I can tell you if Moses Moody and Kevin Knox are the 2 leading scorers for the Warriors in Game 6, they're not going to win. So as encouraging as it might have been for Moody and as nice as it was for them to fight hard in the fourth quarter, I'm not taking really anything from it. Like, if anything, it just goes to show the veteran guys, hey, if you play with a bit more intensity, this is what can happen. And I also think was part of, like, Houston just left the foot off the gas. Let the foot off the gas. Can I speak? A little bit there as well in the fourth quarter, where it's like, okay, we're up big, we're not going to lose. Let's just and I think even the starters thought that a little bit as well. Like, the starters weren't playing as hard as they did in the first half either. The index says Şengün so soft, Pat Spencer getting ejected killed our offense. You're right. You're not wrong, but like the idea that Pat Spencer getting ejected kills your offense is an interesting one in the playoffs. Thendek says down 13 with 4:30 to go. Would you have put Pods back in or GP2 if not all the starters? No, I wouldn't have. Nah, I was happy with Steve's decision. Now, if it got back into single figures, then you may have had to have that conversation. So if they'd got a couple of, like if Key makes that layup, you get another stop and then you get a score and it's like 8 or 9, maybe then I'm like, okay, Steph, yeah, like, because if you come in and hit a few threes in a row, then like we're really talking. So, but it got to 13. I don't think that was close enough to be worth bringing a cold Draymond, Jimmy, and Steph, who didn't have like it going anyway on the night. Like, I don't think that was the time for them to come back in. Then next says, now we need a Lakers win. Well, they're down 12 with 20 seconds to go here in the first quarter. So not a great start for the Lakers. This has been, if they lose 4-1 with LeBron and Luka, that's kind of wild. That's really wild. Priscilla says Lakers are 19-0 and 3-1 to win game at home. There you go. Interesting stat. Knox says, doesn't look like the Lakers are winning this one. Then next says 76 from the bench. Yeah, Moody had 25. Knox had 14. Spencer had 11 and 4 rebounds before he went out. It was a good performance from the bench. Good performance, but at the end of the day, like the Warriors need Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond to be firing in order to win, and those guys just decide not to rock up. Simple as that. Killer Bar says, man, I was at the game and had a good feeling, but damn. Geez, so I'm assuming you're a Warrior fan there in Houston for Game 5. Hope you didn't get too many bad mouthing Rockets fans. There's nothing from them being a bit chirpy, taking on a similar persona to a Dylan Brooks or anything like that. Hope you got out of there unscathed. X-Rays Hell X says this is the second game Curry hasn't shown up. Yeah, it's like, I mean, those three guys, like Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond, I'm kind of putting them all together. I actually thought Draymond was probably the one I was most disappointed in, because to me, it was the defense. Like the Warriors scored 116 in this game. And like if you'd gone into halftime, let's say you'd conceded, because what did they have? I'm just going to click off this Lakers Timberwolves game for a second. They had 49 points at halftime. So 49 points isn't good, don't get me wrong, but it's not as if you should be down by 27 in that situation. Like, to me, I'd look at that and say, okay, if we conceded 60 instead of 76, if our defense was just a little bit better, you go in maybe down 11 or 12 at halftime, then you can kind of think to yourself, like, we're still in the game. We go one big run to start the third quarter, like we're well and truly in the game. When you're down 27 at halftime, no, you're done. Like, you're cooked. So to me, there was the defense and the lack of energy and the lackluster effort on that end. And it starts with Draymond as the defensive leader. There's limitations there with starting Buddy Hield. Like, can the Warriors really be that good defensively? Based on this result, does Moody have to go back into the starting lineup? Possibly. Like, I just think Buddy Hield really tried on defense in game 4, and that was actually good on defense. But I just think generally you'd prefer to have Moses out there for defensive purposes. And the Warriors built the best defense in the league based on that starting lineup with Steph, Pods, Moody, Jimmy, and Dre. I'd probably go back to that for game 6, but we'll wait and see. Particularly, I suppose, after Moody would have got a little bit of confidence, right, out of that fourth quarter. All right. I don't know if I've got really, this might be a short podcast. Let me know if you've got anything else, your thoughts on the game, or anything to do with this Lakers Timberwolves matchup, as Doncic hits a couple of free throws to cut it to 9 at the end of the first quarter. Gianni says it looked like a fake game. GS starters did not show. TJD exaggerated reaction. It just felt really similar to that game 5 in Memphis in 2022, where the Warriors again lost 134-95. And I think that game like they actually made that look a little bit better at the end. Were they down like 50 at one point or something? I don't know. But yeah, they were able to respond, and now they've put themselves under pressure. They're going to have to respond again in game 6. Fingers crossed that can happen, because I'd be nervous about a game 7 back in Houston. But this is why you go up 3-1, right? This is why game 4 was so pivotal, right? Because it gives you that leeway to have an absolute stinker like they did in this game. And now from a fan standpoint, I don't hate them for it. Would I have liked to win? Yeah, because I think obviously clinching this series and getting a bit more rest for Steph, Jimmy, and Dre going forward in between this series and the next would have been very, very helpful. But I'm not super mad about it. I'm not overly concerned about it because I just think they didn't rock up to play in this game. But does it put immense pressure on game six? Yes, it does. And so I'm, as a fan, thinking, okay, cool. You had your stinker. I'll allow that. But man, you better win game six. If you're going to do this, you got to win game six. So that's as simple as it can be, really. And so we'll wait and see what happens. Have I got anything more? Lon the third says Braxton Key he's angry with Braxton Key, who what did he shoot from the floor? Felt like he was just missing layup after layup after layup. Braxton Key in this game was 0 of 7 from the floor. And I reckon though he missed 1 3, and I reckon the rest were layups. 7 rebounds, 5 offensive, a couple of turnovers. Yeah, not great. If he'd made a couple of those layups, then could have got back within single digits, and then who knows? Maybe the anxiety among the home fans really does rise. But aside from that, again, a decent performance from the bench mob in the fourth quarter. A couple of the rotation things I just want to speak about. Interesting that so Moody actually started behind Guy Santos in the rotation this game. Kerr went to Gee before Moody. Now, that's got to change, doesn't it? Based again, I know you don't want to take too much from a fourth quarter where like you're just playing garbage time minutes essentially. I get it. You don't want to just, really dial into that too much. But I do think like Moody going for 25, hitting 3 threes, really being active both defensively on the glass. He had 5 offensive rebounds. I think, again, all of those probably came in the fourth. Even in the second quarter where he had that massive putback dunk it was. So one of his offensive rebounds did at least come in the second quarter. I don't know. I thought he actually played well, and that's not nothing. Like even 25 points, and again, most of it in the fourth, but that's not nothing to me. And I just wonder whether or not it brings him back into the starting lineup, or at the very least, him above Guy Santos. I don't know. My biggest concern right now is probably the center spot. Because the longer this, like the Draymond stuff, if he's going to play like he did in this one, then the defense just sucks because he's the starting center. He's the defensive leader. Like he's got to play so much better than that. But then your options are like Looney, the further this goes, the more I'm like, like, what are you doing? He's doing nothing. He's so unimpactful. I don't even know if that's a word. He's so unimpactful right now. It hurts. And Quentin Post, like you've been okay, but you're still a rookie center. He hit a 3 early and had a nice, it was like a nice little floater off the bounce. I was like, okay, that's nice. But aside from that, you had 5 fouls in 14 minutes. You were minus 14. You only had 2 rebounds. You had 3 turnovers in the game. Like, I don't know. That's my biggest concern. Like those two guys have been outplayed by Steven Adams, no doubt about that. And Şengün didn't have to do too much today for the Rockets to get their job done. They basically, Van Vliet went off again. Dylan Brooks was better. Jalen Green didn't even have to do too much. And then it was Amen Thompson was really good as well for them. So, yeah, I don't know. But simple as it's as simple as saying like the Warriors have just got to rock up and actually play in game 6. And I'm not sure the Warriors are going to be able to blow out the Rockets. I think we could see something very similar to game 4 where it's really close throughout. And, throughout this series, we've seen like in clutch situations, I felt better about the Warriors than I did about the Rockets going into the series. And I think that's a big advantage for Golden State. So long as I suppose, if it's not going to be a blowout win, so long as they can get it into a clutch situation down the stretch of game 6, then I still feel pretty confident. Lon the third says, didn't need the win, just don't get embarrassed. Well, I don't even care about that, to be honest. Like, yes, was it embarrassing? Yeah, but like, cool, you're still up 3-2. You can still win game 6 and win the series. You can win game 7 as well. You still got 2 more opportunities here to close it out. So again, it puts pressure on them, no doubt. But I don't really care about being embarrassed. I don't really like if this was the regular season, I'd be concerned. But the thing about basketball is like there's no such thing as percentage, right? You can lose by 1 or you can lose by 50, and it's essentially the same. Now, obviously, you feel different about it. That's for sure. But in this kind of game, I don't really feel different about it. Like, in fact, if anything, it might be better that the Warriors lost by by so much, or were down by so much, and the fact that Jimmy, Steph, and Dre were able to basically rest over the last 18 minutes, that's maybe a better result than losing by 1 or 2, having it real hard, real physical down the stretch. Steph, Jimmy, and Dre all playing nearly 40 minutes. Like, this result might actually be better. And so, again, there's no percentage, right? You win by 1 or you win by 50. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. Australian rules football, yes, it makes a difference because there is such thing as percentage. So when I'm supporting a team, I hate, right, if my team is up by 50 or whatever at the end of the third quarter, and then we let the other team kick a few goals and we only end up winning by 20, right? Because that actually hurts our percentage, and percentage actually comes into the final standings at the end of the season. Or I get pissed off where we're down by 20 with 10 minutes to go and we let go of the rope even more and we lose by 40 or 50. All right, that's not a thing in the NBA, so I'm not really concerned about, a blowout, embarrassing loss, particularly in a situation like this. Along the third said, Moody mastered the art of ignoring Kurt antics, struggles sometimes, but keeps great composure. Yeah, good to see him respond from not only getting benched after starting 31 straight games, which is still like a weird one to me. Like, I get it. He just wasn't taking, he was getting guarded by Şengün and he was not taking advantage whatsoever. And that's his limitations in terms of not being able to dribble, not being as much of a movement shooter as Buddy Hield is. So I get it, but I'm also like, defensively, I think as much as Buddy Hield might have tried the last couple of games, I think Moody is just athletically, or, with his long wingspan and stuff like that, a little bit more gifted defensively and a little bit more stout defensively than Buddy Hield is. Robert says, I still remember Memphis in 2022, 50-point difference. Yeah, that was a tough watch. I said on the post-game live after the game 4 win, I was like, I hope this doesn't happen. I hope we don't just rock into Houston and it's a similar story as to what happened against Memphis in game 5. Kind of spoke it into existence. Unfortunately, that's basically what happened. So it's disappointing, but it's not a huge concern until they lose game 6, if that were to happen. Right, that's really only when it becomes a concern. You've got 3 opportunities here. If you can take advantage of the second opportunity, then it's like the Warriors losing the regular season finale against the Clippers. That was really, really disappointing, but it was okay as long as you beat Memphis in the first playing game. And you know what? They beat Memphis in the first playing game. It actually worked out better for them because they got the Rockets instead of having to face. They would have got the Lakers, right? And so the Rockets, as bad as the Lakers are looking right now, the Rockets are still probably a better matchup for the Warriors than the Lakers would have been. Mr. MRA Spaces would have been a good opportunity to play with Butler sitting from the start as stink, but alas, he was out with an illness. Kuminga, you mean? Would have been a good opportunity to play Kuminga with Butler sitting? Yes. Yeah. So, Kuminga, for those that don't know, and I saw a lot of Warriors fans on social media just completely missed it. Slater reported before the game that Kuminga was out with illness, and not many people necessarily picked up on that. And there's a lot of fans on social media asking, where's Kuminga? He can't even play in a blowout. Like, what's going on? But he was out. So that is why he did not see a single second in this game. We'll see what his status is like for game 6. But either way, you're probably not going to expect him to play. Sorry. You're not going to expect him to play any rotation minutes unless it comes in garbage time, obviously, which hopefully for a Warriors standpoint, it's the opposite, and the Warriors can blow out the Rockets in game 6. I'm going to finish it up there, guys. Thank you to those of you that came in. Obviously, not too many positives to talk about after a loss like this. Not much to talk about in general after a loss like this. Nice that the bench mob was able to make it a little bit interesting in the fourth quarter. But alas, again, Steph, Jimmy, and Dre didn't rock up. And if those guys don't rock up, the Warriors can't win. I'll be back after game 6 for another post-game live. Let's hope we're talking about a series victory and talking much more positively than we have during this one. There's no doubt about that. Thanks to those of you that have watched on replay or have listened via your podcast feed. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel already, that'd be greatly appreciated. You can follow me at POK252. That's POK252 on X/Twitter. I'll be off now to watch the rest of this Timberwolves-Lakers game. Kind of, it's a mixed one because I would like this series to extend out, but I also think it'd be funny if the Lakers with LeBron and Luka lost in 5 and lost on their home floor. Anyway, guys, thank you very much, and I'll see you after Game 6.